This is the Alphabet 1 month overview reading for the month of April 2024. It's currently March 5th, 2024, 2 p.m. Google at the time of this reading is currently $133.39, that's USD. And the shuffle video for the April Google reading was created on February 2nd, 2024 at 8:13 p.m. Eastern time. That's this video right here in the lower left corner. So the overall theme and behavior for Google, it looks really mixed. When you have the Queen of Cups as the theme card, you have a pretty mixed kind of chart going on, and that would go hand in hand with what I just saw when I recorded Amazon was some bearish price swing. So there should be some like price swinging going on, and it's crossed, however, with the rally that increases with momentum moving forward in time. Behavior around the highest high. The abundance card indicates an important high of some kind. It might be that it's the highest high since our lowest low, or something along those lines. Usually it's some sort of like, notable high, not just any high. But we form that high when we move through key resistance. We stay above it briefly and then break back down through shortly thereafter, creating kind of like a capital A almost in the English language. Behavior around the low. We have a prominent move out of the low and a prominent move back into a low. Basically what we see are we probably see two lows based on that. It's like a prominent move higher and then a full retracement back down. So very, very likely two lows with a peak in between. That actually could be another thing that the high indicates, is that it's a peak between two lows sometimes something like that. Now I'm going to get into the chart behavior by the day, as well as timing the highest highs and the lowest lows, and all the trade opportunities and all that stuff in just a moment. But before I do, I want to make sure everybody's aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. You go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, and 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of these charities, or pick a charity of your choosing, as long as you're paying 5% forward, and then 5% should be sent back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise, or you can use YouTube tips, and that leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it. Okay, so on the first, we have an important technical price level on at least a 1 year chart highlighted here on the first. And often you see the science card as a high. When you combine it with the Ace of Wands, very, very likely we have a highest high thus far here. And this price level, this science card is probably acting as the upper, this is the resistance on that sideways S formation that we see with the Queen of Cups, where we decline from a resistance to meet a support, retrace all the way back to resistance, retrace all the way back to support. So this is probably here on the first, that resistance is being highlighted, and we probably see it again here on the second with a notable move higher and a prominent peak there. It may turn bearish on the second, it may not. It's hard to say if it goes from that rally into bearish on the second or from that rally into bearish on the third. But there's a significant trade opportunity both on the first, the second, and the third, which I'm going to talk about in more detail in the paid version. I'll actually talk about what to look for as far as a one-day chart behavior for entry and exit into these trades, and the timing of those trades and all that stuff, sometimes even price level information. Now, I think we probably do decline before the end of the day on the second, because on the third we have a prominent move higher and then a full retracement of that move back down. That's the type of behavior that you see around the high, right? And then we have on the fourth, a rally along a diagonal trend line that ends with a fast move higher and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. It's probably an important moment here too, because it's a cross-reading congruency. It's the late card of the March reading. If you look at the 1 year in the series of events, we're roughly right there. We'll get into more detail about that overall pattern on a greater scale in the paid version as well. Now on the fifth, another trade opportunity. We have a rally into key resistance. We turn around and we decline through key support. There is another trade opportunity at the very end of the day. Looks like we probably open higher on the 8th, and there's likely 3 pokes through the same resistance level, followed by a sharp drop off at the third poke, taking us into a trough at the end of the day. Should see a notable move to the upside, like on the cusp of the 8th, 9th. After that move to a trough, a move to the upside, and then sideways rotation with a sharp drop in it, where we'll revisit a support level that we recently met before. And we probably bottom out. This is probably a lowest low right here. This support level that's being indicated by the Queen of Discs. Very, very likely that this is the support level in this sideways S formation. So we go from this resistance to the support. Now we should be returning back to resistance, because this is a prominent trough on the 10th, often indicating a lowest low. And then on the 11th, we out of that trough on the 10th, we rally, and the rally's halted on the 11th by a decline through key support on a multi-day scale, and then we do price swings on the 12th, more rallying on the 15th with another trade opportunity there. This is very likely where we see a high again. This is probably the same high as the first second. I'll tell you whether or not that's the case in the paid version. So we decline off of that rally probably the next day in a period of volatility. The period of volatility on the 16th does end with a fast move higher. You know what, before we go any further, let's take a look and see how we did for February. So we had a highest high thus far in the first, and I advised to open up a short position there to close the following day on the second, after a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support. And you can see at some point we went really low on the second, so that would have been a pretty solid trade. And then we have this rally on the 5th, kind of sideways Z on the 6th. You could say more decline. I think that's probably the 7th. What we have for the 7th is taking place there. And then we have this breakout taking place on the 7th. We have it for the 8th, but that does take us to a prominent peak on the 7th, and then looks like a highest high on the 9th. We have a highest high here on the 9th. That nailed that high, guys. And we also kind of have, like, it's like a high and then a high, right? It ended up being, the second one ended up being the next day, but it's kind of like it took place again, right? And then we had possibly another one on the 14th, and it didn't quite end up being quite as high, but pretty close, pretty darn close there. That's followed by a lowest low thus far, which we have for the 15th, which isn't technically lowest low, but pretty close. That was a sharp unicursal hexagram drop that we called off of the high on the 14th. And it also offered opportunity this decline into the 15th, or even into the 16th, where we revisit a support level. That's where you would have opened up a little bit of a long position, which you would have closed on the 26th. Yeah, so this would have been solid. So on like the 15th, 16th, if you had opened up a long position in the midst of that decline, looks like you would have been able to close it on the 20th. Not quite. We had a lowest low thus far there actually on the 20th, and that ended up being right. But it looks like you would have closed a long position here on the 26th. We would have been a day off. You probably would have wanted to get out on the 23rd, and then we go like into lower with like this move to the upside in the last 3 days. And then this rune at the end of the month indicates a significant decline. The low formed after a sharp decline through multiple support levels. The high formed at a point where like we went back and forth near it. Matter of factly, we probably see that price level again in the not too distant future, based on it being an ace of swords. In any case, pretty solid reading. One of the trades was off, but the majority of the trades were pretty darn solid. As long as you don't trade like, bet the house on one trade, you should do pretty well utilizing this information. It's a serious edge. And the way that you get the paid version really helps out the channel, by the way. You go to our services, SO Meta Posts, you scroll down to monthly subscription, click here to order. Currently, you can only get it with the all paid, but we're going to have an individual subscription for Google. All of these sticker symbols are changing tonight, which is the 5th of March. And this price is also going up to $500 a month. So you can do the $250 a month for just Google, or you could get all of these stickers and crypto symbols and ones that aren't even listed on a monthly basis for the $500. Best way to support the channel, most popular subscription on the site. And I know the name of everybody that has one of those. Love you guys. Let's get back into it. Thanks. Okay, so on that 16th, we have like a drop early in the day, and there's volatility, and then we have that volatility end with a fast sudden move higher, taking us to a peak on the cusp of the 16th, 17th, probably on the 16th, but they're on the cusp. We have like a pop and drop on the 17th, and a trough on a 1 month scale towards the afternoon session on the 17th. Sideways rotation along key support on the 18th, and this crest right here around the 15th, 16th is probably where we revisited the price level, the resistance from the beginning of the month. Now, if I'm wrong and we didn't, it's because the sideways S is on like an angle. If I'm wrong and it's like a lower price level, it could be that the sideways S is on an angle, because it's not always horizontal. Sometimes it's on an angle, but there's a good shot that this is the same price level here around the 15th, 16th. It'll be a prominent high, and then we have another prominent high on the 19th within like a U-shaped dip that'll form near the intersection of two perpendicular diagonal trend lines. We have another pretty notable drop on the 22nd, probably over the weekend and into the 22nd, continuing on the 22nd. Opportunity there, trade opportunity. I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version, but a notable decline. And then we do sideways rotation on the 23rd. We rally a bit on the 24th, but that rally turns over. It's kind of like a hump when you see the completion card. On the 25th, we have a prominent move higher, followed by a full retracement of that move. Not sure how I missed that high. That's a highest high right there. That's a highest high right there. So pretty notable trade opportunity here on the 22nd. I'll talk about in the paid version. And then sideways rotation along key support on the 23rd. That was turning into a rally somewhere between the 23rd and the 24th, but the rally also turns over on the 24th. We then have a prominent move higher on the 25th through a key resistance. We stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through it with a full retracement of that move. Very strong correlations, multiple correlations to the highest high for the month right here. So it may be that we go from a high to a low to a high to a low, and then maybe we break out here. It's possible. We have erratic behavior back and forth through the same price level here on the 26th, and a pretty notable peak towards the end of the day, either on the 25th or the 26th. I'm advised not to chase that rally into the high. We probably see a similar price level to the end of the day on the 26th. We probably see a similar price level in the beginning of the day on the 29th, but that turns into a pretty notable decline, revisiting a support level that we recently met once before, either on the 29th or on the 30th. The 30th is a very significant opportunity on like a multi-day scale. It'll really stand out when we look back at April. It'll stand out as one of the better trade opportunities, and I'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. Difficult card to read right off the bat, because it can go either way, but I think it's probably to the downside pretty notably. And then the sneak preview card at some point in May will have a big move higher, reaching for a distant resistance, possibly even like a breakout based on this rune here. And that's Google for April 2024. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Make sure thank you so much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You know where to go. You know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.